God, today is a reminder that another 30 days have passed. God, you kept us by your grace and by your mercy.
Yes.
Not that we've been so good, God, but you've been good to us. And for that, we are grateful.
Yes.
Now, God, as we assemble here on this evening, God, we seek your guidance, your wisdom, and your support as we begin this meeting. God, help us to engage in meaningful discussions.
Yes.
God, we dare not be adversarial, confrontational, or oppositional. But God, we want to have meaningful discussion
Yes.
as to how we can move Princeville forward. God, the responsibilities that you've entrusted to us, we dare not take it lightly. Because not only must we give an account to the citizens of Princeville, but God, one of these old days we will stand before you and give an account as to how we handle this office. God, lead us and guide us. And God, we'll be forever grateful to you. This is our prayer in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you so much. Any public comments this evening?
Yes, ma'am, we do have two public comments. One, Mr. Calvin Atkins.
1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. You got the mic. It's night. You got the mic. No, I'm talking about right here.
Good evening, Board of Commissioners.
Good evening.
I'd like to know where's the town at on the attorney search?
Sorry, could you repeat that question, sir?
Where is the town at on the attorney search?
Okay.
We don't answer questions during public comments, but we will provide you with the answer at some point. But as far as the first question, we'll have an answer for you as we proceed on with the meeting.
So you telling me that a simple question as to where is the town at on the attorney search? You can't answer that?
No, sir.
No, sir.
No. I'm
There's
sorry, may I
something
continue?
wrong with that picture. I mean, that's just simple communication.
Yes, sir. It's been a standing order that we don't entertain questions during public comment, whether the question is simple or complex. We're not going to bend it based upon whether the question is simple or rather complex.
Okay, with that said, 30 days ago, I gave the time. I stood here and I asked this same board questions, and I haven't received an answer. Not only did I do that, probably 10 or 15 days later, I emailed the board, and I still haven't received an answer.
As I forestated, as we proceed on in the meeting, that portion of your question, I believe, will be answered.
I had at least. So you
This
saying
conference will now be recorded.
so you're saying that all of my questions will be answered during this part of this meeting?
That's not what I said. You asked about the attorney. I said
Okay, but what
regarding the
about
attorney.
what about these questions that I sent to you to the board?
If you proceeded with your public comments,
That is my proceeding with it. I am proceeding with this part of it.
Let me just state for the normal procedure, you ask your question tonight, and within 10 days, the town manager is supposed to respond to those questions.
Okay, where this
If that has not occurred, we'll move forward from this point, making sure those questions are answered within 10 days.
But see, the town manager didn't get this, and I can say for the town manager, anytime I call her,
Dr. Knight, did you put the town on mute?
anytime I call Dr. Knight or email Dr. Knight contact me as soon as possible. Sometimes it's within minutes. She had never failed me. I contacted her on the weekend, and she'll contact me back. So Dr. Knight didn't get these questions because I expressed them to the board.
Okay, and that's the response that I'm giving you. What normally happens, the appropriate procedure, you ask your question tonight, Dr. Knight answers those within the next 10 days. If that has not been happening, that's what should be happening from this point forward.
All right, thank you.
You're
So,
welcome.
so these questions that I sent to the board, they will be answered within 10 days.
Yes,
Yes, sir.
Okay,
yes.
thank you.
Yes, sir.
Uh,
Next, Mayor, we have, Ms. Delia Perkins.
Good evening.
Good
Good
evening.
evening.
Good evening.
good evening.
Um, I have 2 or 3 questions, and I hope that I can get an answer within your 10 days. First one is, what are you
Oh,
planning to do about the drainage? I see that in your budget, you have money for drainage. When and what do you plan to do with those monies? It's hurricane season, and we need to understand what's going on with the drainage. As I walk the streets of Princeville, I see that some of your drainage need cleaning. The other question is, what is the status of your audits? Because until your audits are done, grants are out of your care. Your audit is important to grants, and there's a lot of money in the governor's new budget that Princeville should be able to uh, get. The other question is, when will we hear something from the Army Corps of Engineers? As I said, it's hurricane season. It's been 25 years, and I, for one, am sick and tired of being sick and tired of being sick and tired of the Army Corps of Engineers saying that they still planning and the $40 million they still spending. And my last question is to the mayor, Mayor Bobby Jones, mayor of the town of Princeville, the oldest town chartered by blacks in the United States of America. Sir, why is it that you cannot join your citizens in the town hall for public meetings? You are a servant of the people. I've seen you everywhere else with a mask, without a mask. But you asked us to vote for you, but yet you can't join us on the podium as we discuss the business of the town of Princeville.
thank you much, Ms. Perkins.
Mayor, I took,
Yes.
oh, that's awfully loud. Did anyone else need to sign for public comment? I did take it up pretty quickly, so I'm filling in for the clerk today. What is your name, please? Thank you. Okay, you can, Mayor, this is, where's your name? Ms. Smith. Okay, all right. Representative Smith is before us, and I did remove the public comment sheet pretty quickly as I'm filling in for the clerk, so.
Hello, Senator Smith. How are you?
I'm well. Good,
Good. Thank you
good,
for joining us.
no problems. Good afternoon. I just wanted to come here and attend one of your meetings and introduce myself. I am Representative Candy Smith. I currently serve in District 8, which covers a portion of Pitt County. I am in the process of running for the Senate seat District 5, which covers all of this area, and I have won the primary so far on that. And I wanted to get a chance to meet the council members, the commissioners, and give you guys my business cards. I'm looking forward to working with you and to meet the citizens of Princeville to say I'm willing and able and ready to interact and work with you. at any time, please reach out to me. If there's anything that I can do to assist you, then I will do that. I think the last time I came, I forgot it was Juneteenth. Nobody was here. I said, man, I got to try again. And so I was able to make it this time. So it's an honor to be here with all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much.
Next, we have Mrs. Doris Team Wiggins.
Good evening.
Good
My
evening.
name is
Good
Doris
evening.
Jean Wiggins, and I reside at 206 Neville Street. And I have a question I want to ask the board. Do we have ordinance that we need to go by? Because if we do, we're not going by any of them. I have been here talking about the ditches beside my house. I don't know who property that is or how long them ditches been like that, but the ditches got trees growed in them. I went out there and cut what I could cut out, but I'm not cutting anymore because I feel like it's not my property. It's not the property to the folks next door. It's the town property. The ditches, to me, from what I was told back in the days, are the town property. So I wish somebody would come out there and cut those trees down so I can see how to get out of my driveway.
That concludes public comments, Mayor.
Okay, thank you so much. Next item on the agenda, we see the announcements. We still have the testing at Freedom Hill, Biden Walk-In Clinic, Heritage Parks, and of course the Heritage Park change. I think it's Mondays and Wednesdays from 8 to 12 now. Mondays and Wednesdays from 8 to 12. And also Freedom Hill. I said that. The town of Princeville vision. Remember, this is the vision from the board, but the citizens have a right to add their input where they want to see the town of Princeville in 20 years, where they want to see the town of Princeville in 10 years, where they want to see the town of Princeville in 5 years, and where they want to see the town of Princeville next year. And right now for next year, we would like to see all of our citizens to participate in some classes in the town of Princeville, sponsored by Edgecombe Community College, the Rocky Mount OIC, and other partners. That leads into our 5-year plan, where we can have all citizens with certificates, license, and or degrees. As you know, there's a shortage of plumbers, electricians, welders, carpenters, painters, and forklift drivers. All these professions pay at least $20 to $25 per hour, which will allow us an opportunity to move to prosperity. We want every one of our citizens to be able to participate in the American dream. You cannot participate in the American dream when you're only making minimum wage. But if we get our citizens to participate in these opportunities, then they will be able to participate in the American dream. I don't know about you all, but I get sad for me to see our citizens who don't have any hope, who are depressed because of the living situation, because of inflation. But if we can get them involved, the inflation will not have a devastating impact on them as it is now. We also have a 10-year plan, all citizens living in prosperity. And when I say prosperity, I'm not just talking about money. I'm talking about being successful and striving, the wealthy, full lives, happy, a way of thinking, having time and financial freedom to enjoy life, mental and physical health, spiritual and emotional prosperity as well. And then a 20-year vision, Princeville will be self-sufficient, self-sustaining, and self-supporting. All these visions have an impact on each other. We cannot have next year's plan, the 20-year plan, if we don't do next year's plan, the 5-year plan, and the 10-year plan as well. They're all intertwined. We also have next Princeville Farmers Market, July 23rd, this coming Saturday from 10 to 2. It was very successful last Saturday. We had about 12 vendors Hopefully we'll have more this time around. The spotlight ad deadline is July the 24th. Okay, any additional announcements at this time?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Bullock here. I am under the impression that we are now renting the Senior Citizen Center to, I guess, general public and to citizens of the town. I attended the last one of yesterday or Saturday and was very impressed at the turnout. But I will be on record complaining about a caution light, and I have witnessed that it isn't an ideal situation when the cars are leaving that lot. And I've been begging and hoping I'm going to continue to work because I got some people at the state level doing a study of placing a caution light that can be activated when there is some activity going on over there. We got people, the senior citizens, leaving and entering. And we now have a little handsome bus that is moving the seniors here and there. And it's not safe for them to pull out in that street without some type of a pre-warning for the traffic that's coming and going. Once again, I want to say we have had visibility of the police officers, which is a life-saving from my perspective, but we need to have that caution light, not a stoplight, that could be activated when there is movement in and out of that property.
Okay. Any additional announcements? Are there any adjustments to the agenda?
Mayor, I would humbly ask for consideration to adjust the agenda to include under manager's report, 7 Pioneer Court.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Been properly moved and seconded that we add for number 7 under the town manager report, Pioneer Court. Are there questions? All in favor, use the voting sign aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Any additional adjustments?
Yes, Mayor, and if you could be so kind to consider adding number 8 under manager's report, Prince Court.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that we add Prince Court under the town manager's report number 8. Are there questions? All in favor, use the voting sign aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Any additional adjustments? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the agenda with the necessary changes?
So moved.
I have one, Mayor, from last.
You have one what? One what?
Adjustment to be
Okay.
added to the consent agenda from June the 23rd from the regular meeting. I would like to add and let the record reflect that I have the documentation that I mentioned last month from Mr. Atkins that be added to the necessary minutes. I'm going to pass that over to the town manager so she can add it. Thank you.
Okay, right. Is there a second to approve the agenda as written with the adjustments to the agenda?
The second.
Been properly moved and second that we approve the agenda with the 2 adjustments. Are there questions? All in favor, use the voting sign aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So move.
Second.
Been properly moved and second that we approve the consent agenda. Are there questions? All in favor, use the voting sign aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Thank you so much. Now we have our presentation from NC State, Professor Fox.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the town board, Dr. Knight and town staff. It's wonderful to be back in front of you once again. Tonight, I'm providing a very brief update on behalf of the North Carolina State University Coastal Dynamics Design Lab and the Conservation Trust for North Carolina. I'm excited to once again have the opportunity to be able to be a part of an amazing collaboration with the town and many other partners as part of this update that involves another grant that we're working on with the town and for the town. And as documented in the handouts that are provided, there's details about this grant, and this will build on last year's efforts at the elementary school and continue the current work currently underway by the Conservation Trust of North Carolina and the Conservation Corps at Heritage Park. Collectively, the projects are being funded by the Commission for Environmental Cooperation. This grant is only one grant one of 5 grants in North America from this group and 15 across Canada, the United States, and Mexico. So we feel very fortunate to have been selected to be able to provide more projects in service of the citizens of Princeville. There are 4 primary project components. One that you'll see ongoing right now, that's been going on this summer, is trails and additional improvements at Heritage Park. And that work is being conducted again in partnership with CTNC and the Conservation Corps. The second project component is the installation of sustainable stormwater devices to help mitigate nuisance flooding along select areas, street areas. And so we'll have staff down there this Thursday meeting with town leadership and town staff to look at some of those nuisance areas, and we'll be able to corroborate where that flooding is occurring with what we might be able to do there as part of this grant to help mitigate for those nuisance events. So it won't, these devices won't help in large flood events, but they'll help on a daily basis to keep streets clear and safe while improving some of the areas on currently vacant lots due to the acquisition/buyout program. So that's really an important part of this grant, is finding beneficial uses for those buyout properties so that it can help remove them as nuisance properties in town. So only on town-owned land, those are the only areas that we'll be looking. The third goal and project type is developing a 24-bed community garden, and that will also be focused on currently vacant buyout parcels that are owned by the town. And the goal there is to find programmatic partners over the next year that can help to steward that community garden space and to be able to not only grow fresh fruits and vegetables, but also to be able to have an opportunity for folks to learn how to grow fresh fruits and vegetables, which adds to community health and a broader definition of resiliency. And lastly, the fourth project component is the planting of 50 street trees. So to build on the amazing work that's happened at Town Hall, at the Senior Center, one of those areas that we'll be looking at is along Main Street. So how can we look at areas where we can put in street trees to enhance the civic appeal of Main Street, Mutual Street, and potentially other areas. And so we don't know exactly where we're going to be working. And we'll be down there conducting analysis based on environmental factors, safety factors such as sight lines, all those important things that DOT will worry about. But we're also going to be engaging with the citizens to understand how folks want their community to look and to get feedback as well through this process. We've got about 12 months remaining on this grant. It runs through July of 2023. So over the next 12 months, it will involve the engagement of the community, design and development, and then working with local landscape contractor, local businesses to be able to implement these changes, thus kind of folding another layer of economic development back into the community by working with local contractors. And with that, concludes my update. I'm happy to address any questions that the board may have.
Thank you so much, Professor Fox. Any questions from the board?
Commissioner Myrick. Greeting once again, Mr. Fox. Good to have you on aboard again. Thank you for collaborating. I have one question for you. You mentioned the devices of the installation Thursday. What time you're looking at?
I'm going to have staff down there at 9 a.m. And then also there's an additional piece in which about 10:30 that we'll be looking at the work that we did last summer at the elementary school in terms of being able to kind of keep a maintenance regime and seeing what we need to do down there to make sure that that gets established successfully. So 9 a.m. at Town Hall is where things will begin. I'll apologize now for not being there. I just learned this weekend that I have a COVID positive child in my house, and so I am quarantining as well. I'm working from home, but I have amazing staff that'll be down there. Miss Leslie Bartlebaugh is coming on board with our staff. She's a licensed landscape architect in the state of North Carolina, and also she is a certified arborist. And so she'll be a key component of the project, and also Ms. Claire Henkel, who has been working over the past year with Principal Mercer and the staff at Princeville Elementary School to actually implement environmental education curriculum. And so Claire's a graduate student of ours, and they'll be down there representing our side of the project interest.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Fox, excuse me. Could you give me the spelling of the lady that's going to be substituting for you on that Thursday? Baltimore?
Bartlebaugh, Bartlebeauugh. I need an A+ for that.
I halfway spelled it.
Did you get it?
Other questions?
I was just wondering, Mr. Fox, how you doing? Good to hear from you again. It's Commissioner Joyner. I was just wondering, the trees that you're planning to plant that, and you said they are trees that will absorb water. Is that, am I understanding that?
Yes, ma'am. What we'll do is we'll go through a process in which once we determine the most appropriate place for street trees that satisfy all the conditions for DOT, things like sight lines we don't want to block, the nice new reader board at Town Hall. So a lot of the walk will be to see where curb cuts are, and there has to be vehicular access and safety. Once we figure out those elements, we'll want to get feedback about the kind of the character of the tree, the size that's allowed, does it bloom, does it not bloom, if it blooms, what color, all those types of things will be defined by citizens of the town. And then we'll look at environmental factors in certain areas where we know there are trees that do a really great job of basically acting like a straw. They just suck the water up and they evaporate it back into the atmosphere. So trees can be one of the very best instruments for soaking up water, even without having to dig a hole in the ground. So we'll be looking very specifically at those environmental factors for our plantings.
All right. I was just wondering because I was interested in the sizes of them, how tall they grow, how wide they grow, and things like that. And I'm sure you all are taking those in consideration because you were talking about not blocking views and different things like that. I'm only familiar with one tree, and it grows in Africa. It's the baobab tree, and it does grow very large, but I understand that it does absorb a tremendous amount of water, and they get large enough that you can even build apartments out of some of those trees. But I don't expect you to do that here in Princeville.
Yeah, one of the biggest factors actually of tree size that we have to contend with is overhead utility lines. Because one of the biggest mistakes that you've probably seen made out there is you just get a tree looking beautiful and then they'll come and give it a flat top, or they'll make it like a U around the power lines. So we'll be looking at that. And then, size and character, those are very important elements of kind of a beautiful street. Mm-hmm. And one of the side benefits of a tree-lined street is that it'll actually help to kind of visually narrow the roadway, which can help with traffic calming. It doesn't by any means eliminate speeding, but it can help people slow down a little bit depending on the street that it's on. So all those are kind of the analyses that we'll be running. And while since you asked that great question, Commissioner Joyner, an update too that we have is the town charter graphic.
Okay.
We have continued to work on it. We've been working with a museum exhibit designer because the original charter is so small. So we had to go to the state archives on a number of occasions to get a very high resolution scan of the original charter. So we were able to get a scan of that working with state archives, and then expand it to the size that will need to go on the wall at Town Hall. And so now we have that printed. So it just got done, and now we're figuring out the mounting system to make it nice and simple, and we hope to be able to deliver that to the town very soon, so that you can have that a central part of history on display for all to see at the Town Hall.
Sounds great. Thanks so much, sir.
No, a couple of months ago, we did a walking audit of the town with Edgecombe County. And one of the issues we found out with some of our sidewalks need replacing. They do have grant funds to do that. Would y'all be addressing sidewalks as well, or just the tree planting?
We can document some of those issues with the sidewalks, but we don't have in the grant the dollars, because it's very significant when you start getting into building sidewalks. However, that has been a primary item of discussion with all our work, specifically along Walston. We believe that there's a real opportunity to do a Safe Routes to School grant that could create a sidewalk that would connect Main Street all the way down to the elementary school on the school side of Walston, that would enable kids and families to be able to use that sidewalk because of the very excessive speeds that we've observed over time on Walston. And then there's also kind of a critical gap of sidewalks on Mutual that keeps folks from getting from the historic core of Princeville and the Freedom Hill area all the way to Heritage Park. So that's not continuous. So there's a couple points where we believe that strategic investments could really activate and connect really important points within the townscape. And so those are things that we'll be documenting and are definitely open and willing to assist in terms of pursuing some additional grant funds that would help really enhance safety by getting people off the street and, again, not kind of walking in those broken gaps between sidewalks.
Okay. And I was looking at the picture that you all sent. I saw the sidewalk. They're the existing sidewalks. And on one side you had the walking, and the other side you had biking. Is that something, a biking trail that we may consider as well?
As part of this, we don't have the funds for those in town because the trail building was going to occur in Heritage Park for this particular grant. However, going all the way back to the greater Princeville work, where we were really looking at connected loops and how we could get to the levee trail and build out the heritage trail so that there can be signage and historical and cultural interpretive elements along that to be able to tell the story of Princeville. That's still very much in play. And so what we'll want to do with this project, specifically around street tree investments, is to look at those areas that are most important in the near term, but we continue to look at the long range plan that can phase out to include those. So even though our investments are relatively limited as part of this grant, we will want to continue to refine the bigger picture and the bigger idea. And I loved hearing your 1 year, 5 year, 10-year planning, because I think that's the same way that we work in terms of the physical environment. And where do we want to be in 5 years? Well, you tell us how we can help get there, and we see the heritage tourism component being a very part of that long range planning and making sure that people can safely move around town to understand the deep and rich history.
Yeah, and what we're always considering in the long range plan is the connectivity between the 58, the 53, the 88, and historic Princeville as well. They want to be a
Yes, and
connectivity there.
yeah, and that's definitely along Main. You know that almost 2 miles, and so yeah, those are definitely things that we'd like to have continued discussions on to kind of understand where the town's at and its thinking about issues of connectivity. But if we can make these enhancements on Main Street near and in support of the renovations and the new building that's happened, hopefully that can set what are called guidelines, like street guidelines that help to determine appropriate street trees and things that can go all the way down Main, perhaps all the way down to the 53-acre site, so that when you drive that stretch, you still know visually it still feels like town. And so it's elements like that that we hope will come out of the work. Will be a series of recommended guidelines. So should we not be the ones there to assist you, that at least those kind of rules are documented, and the process that informed those rules, the feedback from citizens and town leadership can be archived so that everyone remembers why it is the way it is.
Okay. Any other questions for Professor Fox? Thank you so much for your continued support and partnership. Have a great evening.
Thank you. Thank you for including us in your community.
Yes, indeed. Thank you for being here. Next item on the agenda, NC Growth, Ms. Jessica Wilkerson.
All right, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you so much for having us here. I'll take off my mask so you can see what I look like. My name is Jessica Wilkinson, and I'm the Economic Development Manager for NC Growth. I am coming from UNC Chapel Hill tonight. NC Growth has been around since 2012 with a mission of creating good jobs and equitable opportunities. And we just thank you for having us here tonight. It's an honor to be back in Princeville, where we've worked on projects multiple times over the last 10 years. To say a little bit about NC Growth, like I said, we've been around since 2012. We work with communities, we work with local governments on economic development projects, and the projects are scoped based on the needs of a community. So we have started working with Princeville. We started working back in January to look at a market analysis, conduct a market analysis, create some marketing materials, and also do some research on incentives to inform your plans moving forward, particularly for the 53 acres that we know is planned for mostly commercial development. And so with that, I want to introduce Sofia Araujo, who is a Master's of City and Regional Planning Master's candidate at the School of Planning at UNC. And she's going to be presenting the findings from this research. So I will hand it on to her, and I believe that everyone has our slides. And will the slides be on the screen as well? Okay, thank you. All right, thank you very much.
Hello, everyone. As Jessica mentioned, my name is Sophia, and I've been working on this project for a couple months now, so we're very excited to finally present our findings and our report. So if we can move over to the next slide, and you can
Just one moment, ma'am. I'm sorry. Dr. Knight, can we present that to the citizens online?
I am currently, I have it on display. Can you not see it?
We cannot see it.
Well, so
Mr. Holland, can you see the presentation?
you can, Miss Jessica, if you want to join me up here, you're more than welcome.
No, sir, I cannot.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, maybe now?
There we go. If you make it a little bit larger for us, please.
Okay, how do I move this? How do I move this thing out of the way?
And if Jessica already introduced this slide, so if we can move over to the next one. Okay, so our agenda for today, I'll just be introducing the scope of work, the methodology, some quick demographic trends for the town of Princeville, our shift share analysis, and our retail leakage analysis with the two analyses that we use to inform our recommendations. And finally, I'll talk about the recommendations that we have for the town. So the purpose of this project had three main goals, which was one, to identify strategies to attract new businesses to Princeville. And we focused on researching case studies of incentives programs all around North Carolina. So we have three case studies. Our second goal was to identify strategies to capture traffic from Route 64 into Princeville. And our third goal was to define potential business opportunities for the 53-acre site in Princeville. So our methodology, we always conduct a demographic and economic analysis of the region. We conducted an industry shift share analysis and a retail market analysis, which I'll talk about later on. We looked at commuter patterns and traffic counts for the town, for the roads that connect to the town. And we also conducted stakeholder interviews, and we conducted an analysis of potential industries for Princeville. So a few demographic trends, population trends. The population of Princeville has been stagnant for the past few decades and has shrunk a little bit. In comparison, this seems to be the trend as well for Edgecombe County, as opposed to North Carolina, which has grown in population. The next slide. In terms of age distribution, we have a big portion of the population in the really young ages, and also a big portion of the population in the older ages. But we're kind of missing some people in the middle, in the working ages between 30 and 50 years old. So, in terms of race and ethnicity, Princeville is a predominantly African American community, more so than North Carolina and Edgecombe County. In the next slide, in terms of household income, Princeville's income is lower than the neighboring communities and the county in North Carolina, but it has been growing rapidly. Compared to 2010, 2020, there was a 50%, almost 60% growth in income. So that's positive to see. For the next slide, I'll talk a little bit about what we did for the shift share analysis. So a shift share analysis is an economic development tool that we use to compare the performance of an industry within a region, like Princeville, to the national performance. For the data that we need to conduct a shift share analysis is generally not available for smaller populations, so we use the county data for it. So we use Edgecombe County information, which we can use to draw inferences for Princeville. Based on community feedback, what we know about Princeville. So that's what we'll focus on throughout this report. And we identify 5 categories of industries, and we'll focus only on the competitive, opportunity, and stable industries because they're the ones that have the biggest potential for the town. In terms of competitive industries, these are all the industries that we identified as competitive for Edgecombe County. And it just means that these industries have grown more than the national trend and seem to have a competitive advantage in the county. For Princeville, we only focus on 3 of them, which if you move over to the next slide, and we narrow down these based on what we know about Princeville, and also because some other industries aren't as applicable because they focus on the whole county. So we talked about warehousing and storage, support activities for transportation, which generally go hand in hand. And we also focus on museums, historical sites, and similar institutions, which are competitive industries in the county. For opportunity industries, we identified these 2, and we don't focus too much on them in the report, but they're helpful to know that these are industries that are growing and have healthy growth and don't necessarily have a competitive advantage in the region, but that doesn't mean that they don't represent an opportunity to develop them. And then moving forward, there's also stable industries, which also are similar to opportunity industries because they're growing and they're healthy and they can be grown more. We didn't focus on all of these for the report because, as you can see, there are a lot of them. There's a lot of industries that relate to manufacturing, and we're generally hesitant about recommending manufacturing because it's in a general decline across the country. So if we move over to the next slide, these are the 5 industries that we focus for Princeville. Motor vehicles and parts dealers, furniture and home furnishings, electronics and appliances stores, general merchandise stores, and miscellaneous store retailers. And we chose these based on community feedback as well, because from the comprehensive report and from some of the interviews that we conducted, there seemed to be a lot of support for expanded retail in the area. So we'll talk more about those. I want to talk a little bit about the retail leakage analysis that we conducted, which basically helps us understand if what the demand is for the area for specific industries and what the current supply is in town for those industries. So it helps us identify gaps of unmet demand that basically mean that if we can expand the business opportunities in those areas, then that demand would be filled and that there is demand for these industries in town. So a few of the ones that we identified is miscellaneous store retailers, which generally includes florist stores, thrift shops, stationery shops, so like smaller retailers, clothing and clothing accessory stores with a 2.2 million dollar unmet demand. And there seems to be around 8 businesses within the radius that we use, in the 3-mile radius that we use. So that could be expanded to meet that demand. We had sporting goods, hobby, book, and music stores, and also home furnishing stores. These all have a gap of over $1 million, so that's a significant unmet demand for these industries. In terms of our incentives research, we looked at 3 different towns, town of Farmville and town of Riverina, and then Nash County here in North Carolina. The town of Farmville has an incentives program that focuses on new construction and renovations. And a key takeaway from this program is that they have a list of businesses that they've identified that they need more in town, and these businesses get priority over all other businesses that apply for the incentives program. And the assistance in this incentive program comes in the form of cash grants and utility credits up to $5,000 over the grant period. There's also the Nash County program, which focuses on retail and small businesses. And these businesses that apply for the program are scored using a detailed scoring sheet. So based on the town's priorities, the number of employees, the number of jobs they add to the community, the type of business that it is, the location where it is, adds point to that program, which makes it to that business, which makes it qualify higher in the application program. And that's helpful because it increases transparency in the application process and it helps to prioritize the town's priorities and needs. And it excludes anything over 50 employees, because any business with more than 50 employees, because it focuses on small businesses. And then there's the town of Riverina, which is more of a long-term recommendation because they have large, they focus on very large capital investments programs, and they of around $50 million, and they provide an incentive of up to 5% of the total project budget. So this is more something thinking long term, because this type of incentive program is very costly, but it's something that's helpful to keep in mind for the future. And now we'll move over to our recommendations. So our first recommendation is for Princeville to develop an incentives program to attract businesses to town. To develop a list of strategic businesses that the town wishes to prioritize, and prioritize businesses that apply to the incentive program that are within this list, and to focus exclusively on opening businesses in the 53-acre development. We also recommend using a scoring sheet to score the applications to ensure that the businesses that meet the most town needs get prioritized, and that there's a transparent process to that. And also to prioritize small businesses, because small businesses tend to have a greater impact in local communities. They tend to reinvest a greater portion of what they generate into the communities, and they're also more likely to hire locally and create more jobs locally. We also recommend developing a task force focused on business attraction and development. And the purpose of this task force would be to develop and update the list of targeted businesses and to change it based on the town's changing needs. And we also recommend encouraging the relocation of existing businesses. So consider providing these relocating businesses also with incentives or including them in the incentives program. And also to encourage community buy-in of the 53 acre development to encourage relocation. And we've included 3 marketing flyers at the end of this presentation that we can show. And finally, to develop or collaborate with a business advocacy group or a small business incubator. And we identified 2 that are locally and are available, which is the Edgecombe Community County Small Business Center and the Small Business and Technology Center for North Carolina. Our next recommendations for capturing traffic from Route 64. The first one is to increase signage along the highway, and there's 3 ways that can be done. So one is through NCDOT signs. So the North Carolina Department of Transportation you can apply to those signs for food, tourism, and gas stations, and we often see them. They say how far off the exit there's a specific business, and also gateway signs are very important. As you can see, there's one here from Hickory, North Carolina, and these are appealing ways to attract visitors into town. We also recommend purchasing an appealing and informative billboard that can be placed a few miles before the Princeville exit so that people know that Princeville's here and they know the history. So that way they might stop for food, gas, or to visit. And also another recommendation is to target travelers heading west on Route 64 instead of east, because travelers heading east generally go through Rocky Mount and Tarboro first, which means that some of their needs might already be met in terms of gas or food, versus travelers heading west. There's nothing that much. There isn't that much before Princeville. There isn't a town for a few miles before Princeville, so they're more likely to need refueling or food or anything else. And the bottom 2 are more long-term recommendations, and mostly because there's high barriers to develop this in terms of high cost, which is one, to promote the development of gas stations off the highway at the Princeville exit, because people are more likely to stop where there's a gas station where they can refuel, and also to promote the development of brand name restaurants or food chains, we would call them, because people tend to stop for businesses or restaurants that they know. And now we have a few recommendations for the 53 acre site in terms of retail and what can be done for retail. Our first recommendation is to focus on leveraging local entrepreneurship through incentives programs and marketing campaigns instead of pursuing large retailers. Because of what I mentioned, small locally businesses tend to have a greater impact in their local communities. And also attracting large retailers can be difficult because they have their own requirements. When they open a business in a town, they have requirements in terms of the amount of people that are around and the potential target audience. So it might not be worth right now spending time and resources pursuing them if they don't think it would be a good match. So encouraging community buy-in for the project is also very important through marketing campaigns and letting people know what's going on in that development. We can go back 1 second. And this list at the bottom is a few ideas of businesses that could be included in an incentives program. So businesses such as building supply stores, motor vehicle products, electronics, clothing, office supply shops, sports, and home furnishing stores could be successful in that area because there's a large unmet gap for demand in these businesses. For the next slide, now this is another recommendation that we identified through our shift share analysis, which is the warehousing and storage industry. So this industry has a competitive edge in the region. There's a high availability already of qualified labor that's already employed in similar industries within the area, and also there's space, which this industries generally require a lot of land and space. Princeville is very conveniently and competitively located close to airports, major roads, and airports. So it's close to the Port of Wilmington, the Norfolk International Terminals, and the Moorhead Port Terminal. But it's also close to RUD Airport and Raleigh, and it's also well located on US 64, and US 64 connects to I-95, which is a major road. One downside is that this industry does have high barriers to entry due to the high costs associated with acquiring machinery and space for it. And if this were to be developed in the 53-acre, then it would have to be located away from retail just to not interfere with the interactions of people going to shop, because they can have large scale operations. For the next slide. And these are a few of our additional business recommendations. The first one's food services and drinking places. There is a large unmet demand gap for these businesses, and there's also strong residential support for more restaurants or drinking establishments. And these are also good ways to attract people off the highway coming in, because they might want to get food, etc. And also to attract nearby residents from neighboring towns. And in terms of museums and historical sites, Princeville's rich history is a very important asset to the community, and it's also a differentiating factor because it sets it apart from the neighboring communities. So really championing that asset is a good way to bring people in and letting people know about Princeville and its history. And this industry also has a big competitive edge in the region. So developing museums and historical sites for people to come visit could prove to be very fruitful for the town. And these are some of the marketing signs, flyers that we made for the town. So this is one, and then this is the second one, and the third one. And this is Jessica's contact information. If anyone has any questions, this is a good way to reach out to us as well. And all this information is included in the report that we made. 55-page report, so it's a long read, but there's very helpful information in it, hopefully.
Yeah, and I just wanted to add that the report that we have that we will send to all the commissioners is a draft at the moment, and we would love any feedback so that we can finalize it and then share it in its final form. So
I'd like to get Miss Sophia's last name.
Araujo, it's Araujo.
And when you're looking at finalizing this?
We will work to finalize it now. We're in the finalizing stage, and so we have this draft, and so we're really just looking for comments from you all, and we've sent it around to folks on our team and also externally. So it's ready to share with you all. I'm waiting for your comments, and then we'll wrap it up after that.
So can we get a round table or a collaboration going at some point in time, or you just need feedback to be shared later on?
Well, I think there's a couple ways we can do it, but the first thing that would be easy to do is for us to just send you the report via email, and then once you all are able to review it, to send us comments directly.
Okay.
And the timeline, it's up to you all. So whether, it would take a couple weeks for you all to review or longer, then, whatever is your timeline, we can work with that.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Thank you. And we're happy to answer any questions now, or you can email us with the information on the slide. And we will likely leave in just a few minutes just because we have to drive back to the Triangle. But thank you so much for having us here tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
I have one question, please. Have y'all considered that 64 bypass is going to change to Interstate 87? And would that have an impact?
You know, we didn't look into what that change will be. We looked at historical data for the traffic counts that we have from NCDOT at the moment. That information's in the report. However, it's historical data, and so once that change takes place, it's definitely possible that some of those numbers would change. And when that happens, we would be happy to rerun those numbers, for
Okay.
that portion of the report.
And if we were to focus on tourism, and at this point, if we get people to come in, our issue is we don't have any place for them to stay. We don't have any place for them to purchase gas. We don't have any place for them to spend dollars. So how would we go about including more hotels or trying to attract the hotel?
Yeah. So at the moment, I think the analysis that we pulled through, the shift share analysis and the retail leakage analysis that Sophia went over, really points to the fact that supporting smaller local businesses through some type of incentive package is a way for Princeville to, control and to support those types of businesses rather than trying to, at this stage, attract a hotel or some type of big box retailer. Like Sophia mentioned, those can be really difficult to attract. And, towns often don't have the power to influence some of their analyses because they'll be based off of population. And, if they just have a cutoff and the population cutoff is 5,000, there's just not much that you can do about that at times. But we tried to, in this report, focus on some things that we think the town can do now, which would be to support some of those local businesses through those incentives. Yeah.
So is not to cut across you, Mayor, but isn't some of the population from the report that I saw is based on Edgecombe County and also Tarboro and Princeville, which is about 64,000 from what I saw. So would that not be a factor based on what he asked?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I think some hotels would certainly look at the larger population of the area. But like I said, sometimes it's difficult to know, exactly what all that they're taking into account. And those analyses that they do, it's not something that we're able to control. And so that's just all I'm saying.
Yeah, I think it would be a good thing to still look at. I understand you saying long term, but the way the population or citizen or people that is commuting and moving here for other reasons, and we're seeing a lot of that from Nash County and it just flowing this way. So I think that's something we need to try to go ahead and kind of capture and see if we can put a cap on it, and somewhere out there on the 85, 64 per se, on the outside of Princeville or in between Tarboro and Princeville.
Yeah.
So that, when people are traveling, they have somewhere else to stop as well.
Yes, I definitely agree. I think that 53 acres and the 88 acres where it's located right off of 64, that's a huge opportunity to pull people coming off the highway.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And so there is some information in the report. It's a little bit more detailed about longer term plans of trying to get a gas station there or other amenities that would be great for travelers. I think the way we tried to lay things out in the report are kind of in a phased approach. What are things that can be done now compared to once some of those businesses get established, what can be done next in that area.
What are your
Absolutely.
thoughts? Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Thank you. Absolutely, because we had a citizen come before us maybe about 2 or 3 months ago, and they was definitely in the mindset or establishing a service station on the 88 acres. And I think that would be good as well that you have spoken of.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, and we included a lot of these recommendations, and some of them we mentioned they're long-term recommendations, but we do recommend them. So if there is a possibility for Princeville to secure any of these things in the short term, then it's absolutely something we would recommend. But we don't want to say, this is what you have to focus on and do like a tunnel vision situation in which, see like more short-term things that can be done as well.
Absolutely.
Yes, because
Thanks.
I was thinking in terms. I know you said hotels could be quite an undertaking. If you think in terms of something like Airbnbs, and those are very popular now. If you can think short term, those would be some things where someone may want to become an entrepreneur and setting up some. That might be an option as well until we are at a position that we can go further with hotels and things like that.
And also just leveraging too the passing by traffic, because there is Route 64 here that does have quite a bit of traffic that passes. So even if it's someone that doesn't stay overnight, the possibility of them stopping and spending dollars in Princeville would also be beneficial for the town.
Mm-hmm.
I might want to add this in addition to endorsing the mayor's idea about hotels and Commissioner Marek, as well as Commissioner Joyner. Location, 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 and we have the location. What we put on the location is going to determine the interest of the travelers curious enough to want to come off of the highway to come down into Princeville. And I'd like to let you know that I want to be able to meet with you all when you start your brainstorming. I like your programs, what you've showed us, that's potential, because we do have some history here. Beyond your wildest measure, Princeville is a jumping off point for many, many people that got their start from here and they have gone abroad. And there's some stories here that need to be shared, and we could use the museum portion of your program to bring people in to find out what was it really all about, Princeville, and you'll be amazed of what that could do, as well as the other commercial entities such as shops, stores, banks. We could get people in here and serve as a major hub in this vicinity, because we have different communities around that would be interested in coming to shop and spend their money. So I think it's a great vision, and I've been waiting. I've been waiting for you all. Yes, I have. I'm the oldest one in here, so let's do this. And I want to be a part of your brainstorming. I'm sure Mr. Mark will want to also participate.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you so much, Ms. Wickerson, and don't hate me if I get this wrong, Ms. Arajo.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Safe travels. No,
The
thank
next
you.
item on the agenda is department reports. Any questions about the finance report?
Hold on, Mayor. Let's see. Let me check my notes. I have one on page 3 of the check detail on the finance part. To the town manager, do we have the water at the Public Works Department that you know of?
We do.
Okay. I didn't think we had any running water down there. That's why we're asking. Let me see the next one. Sungate. Is this in the final stage or is this reimbursement fund?
Sungate is the contractors for the floodgates.
So is this the final payment or
They're in phase one
phase
of the
one?
floodgate project.
How many times have we paid them already? Because I thought we had paid them twice already.
We will continue to pay them until the contract for the floodgates is complete.
So what was that total amount?
That was given to the board several months ago. I don't have
You
that
don't
total
recall?
amount for me. Probably in the, if I had to make a rough estimate, in the tune of about 700,000 earlier on.
So I remember and recall us being in the first stage of the this project a while back, and I'm kind of in the mindset, you know, like I know we have paid them once before. So is this not like the second or third payment that you recall?
Yeah, we will continue to pay Sungate until the project is complete. It's an ongoing project for the floodgates. They are in phase one of the process. They just received their permitting from different sources for the floodgates, to include the county, to include NC, to include the Army Corps of Engineers. And so it's an ongoing project. So they will, as they go through different phases of the projects, they will invoice the town. The town will receive the reimbursement through CDBG-DR funds. And so you will see Sungate likely as an ongoing project until its completion in 2023. It's a timeline that's anticipated if there is no other barriers to that process.
Okay.
Matter of fact, the process is to be complete. Project closeout is estimated for June of 2023.
If you don't mind, will you be able to get that information to the board our next meeting, what we have paid out and the invoices that they have already sent over your mind, please?
Ms. Alice can take care of that, and
Thank you.
the contract was sent to the board. It should be in one of your packets, but I'm sure that Ms. Alice can retrieve that information again.
Yeah, just an update. Thank you. Also, last one.
Just curiosity. Approximately how many gates, Dr. Knight, are we talking about?
It's four repairment to floodgates.
That'll be all for this one for the check detail. The other one for the debit card.
Excuse me, Mayor. I'm sorry to interrupt. I just didn't want us to
do this
move.
on your manager report?
No. I just didn't want to see whether there are any other questions for the check details before we move forward. Okay. Just want to make sure.
Okay.
Okay. The other one, Mayor, for the debit card. Now, I see where we just established a NextFlit account. I'm just suggest that since we have Wi-Fi, we can actually purchase a Fire Stick and pretty much watch any movie or any. You could pretty much just do about a little everything on a Fire Stick. I think that it would be nice that we save that money and just get a Fire Stick and be able to download movies. We're paying $21 and some cent just for a NextFlit for the senior citizen department. That's just my take. I'm just throwing it out there. We can talk about it later, but I think that's something we can have a saving on.
Other questions on the debit card?
That'll be it.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Any questions on the statement of revenues and expenditures? Questions on Public Works?
Yes, Mayor. I just want to say I got some report from several citizens that their recycle was not picked up, and I don't know whether they reached out to any other board member or yourself, Mayor. Ms. Knight, you have any idea why these guys' trash wasn't picked up?
Yes, we did a call-in post to all the citizens who are on the call-in post listing, informing citizens of the barriers that Waste Industries was experiencing. In fact, their main driver had an accident and broke his collarbone right here in Princeville at the intersection, and they've had fill-in workers that have been in the community. They've been back and tried to catch up with the schedules that they missed in the community, and that has been difficult. So I've been in communication with the superintendent, and they're going to do their very best to get back in the community this week. They're hoping to get their driver back next month, but if not, they'll have a more regular driver to make sure that they do pick up that recycling on the second Monday and also the garbage on Wednesdays. What we have been doing and working in partnership with GFL is going out to the resident's house as we have the available staff to do so, to make sure that the garbage bins are out opposed to the recycling bin, and assessing that the recycling does not have trash in it opposed to recycling items. And we've actually been taking out literature to residents so that they can make the distinction in the cans and also what goes in the recycling bin, and if they would like extra garbage bins. So that's been the barrier for the last 2 weeks with Waste Industries, and I'm in communication with the driver. In fact, he stopped in on Friday. As he stopped in, we did have citizens calling, saying that they did not get their recycling items picked up, and he did go back out in the community. So we're working with GFL so that they can resolve this matter as swiftly as possible, and we keep the citizens abreast by way of calling post and any other means of communication when they're calling. We actually complete work orders when they call in to make sure that we're able to track those addresses for Waste Industries so that they can have the information when they're out in the community.
Very good, because there was server that did have a concern that probably didn't receive the notice at the time, so I did inform them I would address it. Also, while we're on that, based on the calling post that you mentioned, there were also a citizen, I know we're going to probably talk about some other things, there were citizens that when the calling post is coming in, they're not hearing all the information that being cut off. And also on the marquee outside, is there any way we can slow that marquee down as speed-wise? They say it's a little bit too fast, so when they ride by, it's like they have to turn around, come back, and notice it. I don't know why they can't put it in the parking lot, but I'm on the relay, and I'm just a messenger. Thank you.
Other questions of Public Works? Okay. Historic Outreach Coordinator, questions, comments? Okay. Senior Center, questions, comments? Edgecombe County Sheriff's Office report, questions, comments? Okay, Princeville Volunteer Fire Department. Let me just say something I would like for us to consider because of inflation, because of the high diesel fuel prices, because of the higher gas prices, that we consider using some of the ARP funds to give the volunteer fire department an additional $25,000, in addition to each of the volunteers a $500 stipend, because every time that alarm goes off, they have to jump in their cars and get to the fire department, and that's not cheap. So that is my, I would like you all to consider that for us.
Can we talk about that later, Mayor, so we can get a better understanding of what you're saying, instead of just ramming that to us right now? In your mind, please.
Well, let me just slow down then. Diesel prices have almost tripled. They're going through their $30,000 that we originally gave them quicker than normal because of the gas prices, because of the diesel prices, and also the volunteers. They have to come from home to get to the fire calls, to the fire department. So I'm suggesting that we give the fire department an additional $25,000 from the ARP funds, and each of their volunteers, which is about $500 each, and that would give us a total of about $38,500 from the ARP funds to the fire department.
Mayor, also,
Yes, sir.
with the allocation of those anticipated funds, we also need to look at the safety of the fire trucks entering and leaving their properties too. That caution light is not functioning, and it should be mandated as a safety precaution. We need to look into that and see what we can do about that with some of this money, if that can purchase or fix that entry light for traffic passing by when they're leaving.
Is fire chief there?
No, he's not, Mayor, but he will be at the next meeting. He's working this evening.
Mayor Pro Tem, are you familiar with the traffic light not working?
Yes, sir, I am. We've had 2 or 3 people to come out within a year's time. They don't have a clue. They worked faithfully to try to get that light working, and they don't know why it's not working. So we've worked diligently to try to do everything within our power to get it to operate properly.
So it's not a funding issue, it's that somebody don't know how to fix the issue.
That's correct. They've changed the fuse in the box. They rewired it. So it's a greater issue. It's definitely not a funding issue.
Do we have anybody else we can call to check it out?
I would have to refer that question to the chief.
Okay.
Yeah, Mayor, because I rode through there and it seemed to have been partially working as I approached, and I saw a car continue to move forward. The light was flashing, and then all of a sudden I saw it go out, and then the car went by, and I think are you the assistant chief, sir? Or you just one of the volunteer workers? Yes, you. The captain. I toot the horn at the captain. I believe Lil Joe Dickens was also out there at the time when I was passing through. Is that when y'all also were having a malfunction with the lighting? Okay. I just saw it kind of like blink, and then it went off, and then it come back on.
So it's malfunctioning, Mayor.
Okay. So yeah, definitely we need to look at that. And if the chief like to call me, I can call the county and see what they can do, because that is not good. We need to get that light working at ASAP.
Okay.
Okay. So what's the pleasure of the board on my recommendation?
Mayor, before we do that, I would like to ask my constituents to properly recuse me from this vote.
Okay.
Being that I'm an active member of the fire department.
So move.
Do we need to vote on that?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been properly moved and second that Mayor Pro Tem recuse himself from the vote. Are there questions? All in favor, use the voting sign aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Thank you so much. Is there a motion?
Let me ask another question, Mayor. So this money can be appropriated for that particular cause?
I know it can be for.
Have we done our due diligence? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It can be for the fire department. Dr. Knight will have to check to make sure we can do it for the volunteers, because they are not employees of the town. I think we can because of what they do to serve the town, but double check to make sure we can do that. I know we can do it for the fire department. If we can't do it for the volunteers, then we can do everything to the fire department, and then they can distribute it to the volunteers.
Well, can we do our due diligence table to next month and do our due diligence so she can do the necessary research or contacting whoever need to be called? We don't
Well,
want to
let me
fall
just
in the
say,
hands of the snares.
let me just say this: we can go ahead and do the entire 38.5 to the fire department, and then ask them to distribute it to the volunteers. But okay, whatever the board want to do.
I think we do need to check to make sure that it is one of the areas that we can utilize the funding for.
Okay, Dr. Knight, check that out for us, please.
Will do.
Okay, thank you. Okay,
And I've
next
said,
we have.
Mayor, excuse me, Mayor, thank you. And once that is done, I don't have a problem with that because those guys do an excellent job in what they do, and I commend that captain over there. That guy's top notch. Thank you.
The whole fire department is.
Well, the
We
whole
appreciate it.
guy, but
Right.
by him being a leader,
Yeah.
he's
Yeah,
top notch.
yeah.
How many
They
volunteers?
might need to get they might need to get a new chaplain though. I don't know.
All right, Mayor.
All right, I
All right.
got a comment.
We'll move on to the town manager report, the senior citizens report.
I think there was a question, Mayor.
There's a question for
Okay.
you.
Yes.
It's been brought to the people here tonight about what do we have to do to get our leader to come down here and sit on this bench? Do we need to discuss that more or vote on it or what? But we like to see your smiling face down here, Mayor.
Does it look around the room now? Does everybody have on a mask?
Yes,
Everybody's got on a mask?
yes,
Is everybody 6 feet apart?
yes.
Everybody 6 feet apart. How you can be 6 feet apart? Oh, yeah. So everybody's not sitting at the table.
5 and 3/4 then.
Okay.
'Cause I'm 6.
When we can be 6 feet apart, everybody with masks on, I certainly will return.
Well, Mayor, I'm along with Commissioner Bullitt. A lot of the citizen had pretty much have addressed this. If it comes to a fact, I don't want to get into no major thing why the senators, representative here. But in the same token, I just want to say that it would be nice that you come in and join us. You can wear your mask. You can sit on the other side. You can sit over in the corner, no disrespect, but it would just be nice, and that's just a joke, be nice that you come and share in. It's too many citizens now just talking about it. You heard what Ms. Perkins said. There are some other one have echoed the same thing, and I believe I can probably just about speak for the entire board because I don't want to say too much on behalf of Brother Jones, but Commissioner Joyner, she said it 2 months ago. Commissioner Bullitt, he sent an email out, and I kind of agree with him on that night. So please, sir.
Maybe we need to put it to a vote, Commissioner.
If
No.
I'm trying to get him
There's
out of
no
that comfortable
vote on
chair.
well,
I told you it's very simple. It's very simple. Everybody wear the mask. Everybody 6 feet apart. I have no problem coming in.
Well,
Well,
we
we're down
can wear
here.
our masks, but please, Mayor, please come and join us on next month if the Lord's willing. If you believe in the power of God, I know He said protect ourselves. I know He said that we should be cautious, but please, sir, please come and join us. Not only satisfy the citizen in their eyesight, but then be well pleasing in God's eyesight.
So
As
what citizens are talking to you about me, tell them please call me.
Well, I have no thing, everybody is entitled to their opinion. Ms. Perkins just spoke. She had no problem speaking with you last month on behalf of that. There was a little debate there. So in the same token, she stood up and said that tonight. You just heard it from Commissioner Bullitt. You heard it from Commissioner Joyner in the past, as well as myself. As
Okay.
as the board members, we would love to
Okay.
have your presence, sir.
And again, we've already addressed it, already settled. Wear your mask, 6 feet apart. I'll be there.
Thank you.
Okay.
My
I do have a
pleasure.
All
question
right,
in
we'll
regard
get
to
back
that.
to you.
I do have a question in regard to that. Seeing that
Yes.
that is not mandatory, state mandated that people have to wear masks. Is that something that the town can mandate? Just for clarity.
You've already
I'm,
mhm.
go ahead, Dr. Knight.
Yeah, you've already mandated for 20 citizens to join the meeting, and they must have on their mask. But I don't, I guess, that would also, you would have to ask the question: Is that in compliance with your board members as well, or are you just asking that of the citizens? So we did, the board did vote for 20 citizens to come, and they must be wearing their mask. So we provide the mask at the door.
And my position on it is that if the citizens are mandated to wear a mask, that certainly we should as well. But
Well,
I don't know
and he just
if that was included in the mandate
well, he
initially.
just
But if
stipulated
not, we
that's the
just
only
need
way
to.
he's gonna come back. So if that's the only way he's gonna come back, I think we should have masks on. That clears the question right from the jump.
But I think it also needs to be amended in the.
We don't have to be amended. We just
it can
put
be.
the mask on. Just that simple. He just stated if we put the mask on, then he'll come back. So I'm think everybody is in agreement to that. I mean, yeah, that's simple. I mean, I would be willing to wear my mask because the mayor, we are all as a board member asking him to come back. I don't want to get in no conflict or debate or continue to ramble on. It's simple, just like popping your thumb.
Or we can throw it to the community and let them sign a
I think that
the petition.
my concern is that it need to be documented.
Yes.
So that it will not come back saying that the citizens have been mandated to wear masks and the board members are not wearing them or has not been mandated. I have no problem wearing one, but I think it needs to be stipulated and documented. That's my only reason
I
for saying
concur.
so.
Yes.
So what's the pleasure?
I make a motion that we amend the mandate and include the board members to be mandated to wear the mask as well as the citizens, and we move forward.
Second.
It's been probably moved in second that we amend the mandate that everyone that attends the meeting must wear a mask. Are there questions? All in favor, use the voting sign aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. And thank you so much for letting me know how much you all miss me down there.
No, it ain't all that.
Y'all gonna put a mask on just to see me right beside you. 6 feet apart, though. Thank you so much. Make me feel good. All right. Next item on the agenda, the town manager's report, senior citizens center.
Senior Citizens Center, Mayor and Board of Commissioners. Oakley Collier is working in partnership with Bernie and Bernie, their engineers, in fact, to resign the sub pump that we've been waiting on so that we can move forward with getting the inspection done for the elevator. So my hope is that we will have an update this week. Also, Bernie has come on site.
Excuse me, Ms. Knight, can we ask a question as you go on that?
Sure.
So is this going to be at their cost due to the fact that it was not designed according? This would not be where that we have to absorb extra costs again due to the fact we did pay for a sump pump correction expansion valve about $2,300, and it did not resolve the problem. So will we have to absorb this cost, or this is at their cost?
Oakley will cover the expense of the redesign.
So we.
Oakley
Oh,
will.
okay. I just want to make sure I heard you correctly. Thank you.
You're
All
welcome.
right.
Bernie, superintendent, was on site to do some repairs to the railing over at the senior center, and also the lights in the facilities, restroom facilities. So as soon as you walk in, those adjusted lights can come on as soon as the citizens are in the rest facilities. And so they were on site today to do those repairs, and also looking at the water drip from the back of the building in the utilities closet, but they will come back on Thursday to finish the work that needs to be done there. So I'll keep you updated by way of my weekly manager's report. And also, we will get the non-skid substance to the steps and the ramp in its entirety. They will do a test sample. When they do the test sample, I will invite the board members over to look at it, and that cost is at $2,060, just for the safety of the citizens coming up and down the steps and utilization of the ramp. And we have had 2 rentals for different celebrations, different events since our last meeting. So that's going pretty good. And so we're keeping up with the rental and the rental agreement. Thank you very much, Mayor, for submitting some revisions. I think we did an overkill in trying to make sure that we covered everything. And so we do have an updated agreement. In fact, the next rental will be on the 23rd. And so we just continue to advertise and promote the rental of the senior center. That's all the updates that I have for the senior center. I will address any questions at this
Yeah,
time.
Dr. Knight, where are we with the phone line?
So we have put in a work order with Lumen for the phone lines, and I would have to follow up because they are causing some barriers. The lines that we have now for the elevator are causing barriers with our camera system. So we're trying to coordinate all of the systems for the senior center so that they can work in harmony. So I would have to follow up again this week to see where they are with the landline for the senior center. And,
Okay.
I'll give you an update in my manager's report. So hopefully I'll get a response back. In fact, Ms. Alice has reached out to them as well.
Okay. Other questions on the senior center? Okay, Heritage Park.
Heritage Park. So we did get a contractor to go out to Heritage Park to repair the pipe for the building. And that was done on last Thursday. And then on Saturday, we saw that there was still a minor leak in the turnoff valve. So we have reached back out to them to go back out and reassess that pipe for repair. We still have the Conservation Trust of North Carolina Youth out at Heritage Park, and they are on a different schedule. And actually had some football players there from Tarboro High that have joined the group and doing different activities for storm management and pollination in the park, and that has gone exceptionally well. And looking at their schedule, they are in week 1, and week 1 will last until, well, week 1 is actually over. It concluded on Friday. They are well into week 2. And that will go from Monday, June the 20th to the 24th. And they will be working primarily in the pollination gardens that you see if you go out. They are redoing the mulch in the playground area, and they will go up until July 30th with the work that needs to be done at Heritage Park.
Are all the equipment in already?
The equipment, Mayor, is scheduled to be at the park on July 30th. And so we are just being very hopeful that it will arrive on the 30th. There has been a backlog considering the pandemic. And so this is the second reschedule of the ETA. So my hope is that we will get those additional equipment in at the end of this month.
So who's going to install the equipment since the Conservation Corps will be finished on the 30th?
The contractor. It's included in the fee.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. Also, Optimum Serve is just making a shift at Heritage Park. They are relocating to the right side of Heritage Park where the playground equipment is. They have altered their schedule. Now they will be on site on Mondays and Wednesdays from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. They will be in Pine Tops on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 1 to 5. They have or in the process of removing all of their items out of the building into a a pod that will free up the space to start renting out Heritage Park. I wasn't sure whether the board wanted to look at the fees again to reassess before actually opening it back up for the community. I think that you've done that before and you were in alignment to sustain those same current rental fees. And so once they are totally out this week, we can go in and get the custodian to go in and do some cleaning and then start back advertising the availability of Heritage Park facilities for the citizens to maximize the use.
Questions?
I got one thing. Ms. Knight, look into seeing who you can get to put a protective bearing over the or around that piping, because if it happened once, it's going to happen again. That is exposed too far out, projected out too far from the building. If you can get somebody to see if they can put a brick pillar or something there to protect it. I wish we could have had this conversation earlier where they could have actually put that piping more in the ground and ran a elbow up and then went across. But nevertheless, I know it already been taken care of based on your conversation, but let's see, can we get a protective bearing around it?
Will do.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Other questions? Okay, the museum.
So the museum, as of 7/13, the town is in an appeal process with North Carolina Emergency Management. We're into the 47th day out of the 60 days that it stays with North Carolina Emergency Management, trying to bridge that gap where FEMA denied the town $856,000, mitigating the amount of $241,000 to restore the museum. And so once it goes to FEMA after the 60-day expiration with North Carolina Emergency Management, FEMA has 120 days to respond. Once FEMA responds, whether it's favorable or unfavorable, if it's favorable, it goes to the next phase, and that'll go to SHPO so that they can assess the design by Oakley Collier to make sure that there's no compromising of the historical status with the museum.
Questions?
Let me just be clear again. Now, we said that it's still being appealed, right?
Well, the town has appealed it, and the first process to that appeal is through North Carolina Emergency Management.
So we are 47 days of the 60 days, and then FEMA has 120 days to respond.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's a lot of time to me. But especially for the length of time they've been knowing about it, I just think that it just seems to keep going in circles. And I understand that you're basically following the mandates of the powers that be. But if there is any way possible that we can maybe something you can help us with. So
appeal to appeal.
Yes, it just seems like it's a lot of, I'm not going to say wasted time because I don't know anybody's job but mine, but it's a lot of time that we've spent waiting for our museum to be back in place.
Other questions? Publication development?
So with the publication development, Dr. Crowell Smith was on site last week. He did meet with Kelsey for an extended period of time, our historic outreach coordinator, to discuss where he is as far as the editing is for the publication for the town of Princeville. And so he's making some progression, and we're very pleased with the recommendations that he's offered thus far. And so we're hoping sometime in 2023 that we'll be able to have a book publishing celebration for the town of Princeville. We are waiting to hear back from North Carolina Central. They also are part of this editing process, the history department. So we are just super excited about these partners and their commitment to freely volunteer their services for this editing phase of Princeville's anticipated publication.
Excellent. Questions? Okay, the floodgates.
So I mentioned the floodgates. We do have a updated meeting on tomorrow with the engineers as to where they are with the permitting. The last meeting that we had in June, they had received a permission to move forward with the slope stability analysis through Army Corps of Engineers. And so they did get a permit for the erosion control. And so their next phase is the award process, which should be sometime in October. And again, as I mentioned earlier on, if they are holding true to their timeline, this project should be completed in June of 2023.
So what we're gonna do with the dike is not gonna have any impact on what they're doing with the floodgates.
No, because the Army Corps of Engineers have to approve those permits so that it won't compromise whatever roundtable discussion they're having to try to find a remedy for the levee.
And the Army Corps of Engineers was with us the last time. They said be back with us about 6 to 8 weeks. It's been about 6 to 8 weeks, right?
So Colonel Bennett will be joining the board for a presentation in August, on August the 15th.
Okay.
That's one
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Questions of the floodgates? Okay. HMGP?
HMGP, the Hazard Mitigation Grant Program. We're still waiting to hear back from the state as it relates to the 69 elevations out of the 75. I do have a meeting this week on Wednesday with OSBM, who's going to come in and have some discussions around what they are able to do to support the elevation process and partnering with the state. So that should be very interesting and perhaps very promising to those who have been waiting for the elevation process. As far as the 3 reconstructions, as you can well see, we do have 1 complete construction project and 1 well underway. And we're working on the 3rd one. And so that has been a very rewarding, refreshing sight to see that that has moved forward at the long due process with the 3 reconstructions. And so I will keep the board updated by way of my manager's report and monthly meetings to where they are with that elevation.
Now for the HMGP, the homes that are being elevated now, who's our contact person?
Steve McGugan.
Will you please ask him to get with the contractors and let them know that not to ask people to move out of their homes until they're ready to start?
Yeah,
This is the second time, huh?
They haven't.
They haven't?
They have not, because they haven't even identified a contractor to go in to do the elevation. So we may want to talk offline to make sure that we're speaking about the same project, because we received
okay,
some.
Well, okay, we'll talk offline. Okay. All right. Any other questions? HMGP? Okay. 7 Pioneer Court.
Pioneer Court. So the mayor and I did have the privilege today to go on site at Pioneer Court to meet with the new owner, Mr. Telfair. And so according to Mr. Telfair, please help me out if I miss anything, Mayor, that his anticipated goal for Pioneer Court is to do it through a phased approach. And his first approach, his first approach, the phased approach, will complete 12 units of the 54 units that's out there at Pioneer Court. And so he's hoping to identify some additional funding resources that can assist with the restoration of those units. But as it stands today, he's going to move forward with the funds that he has secured to get at least phase 1 complete. And he's anticipating those 12 units to be complete over the next 6 months. Did I miss anything, Mayor?
No, you did an excellent job, and people are calling for those apartments already.
Yeah, we had 4 visitors.
They're not long. Oh, listen to them.
We had 4 visitors today under the impression that it was move-in ready, and we just had a few calls, so we had to clear it up that he's been very ambitious to have those 12 units completed over the next 6 months.
Yep.
Have they all been cleaned out, Dr. Knight?
Yeah, we did. He let the mayor and I go and see a few units, and they have gone in and cleaned them out. And Mayor, you can kind of help me out here, the next step with those.
He has also, sanitized them?
Yes.
And next he's going to go in and cut out 5 feet of the sheetrock from each of the buildings. And from that point, he'll put up the new sheetrock. And again, in 6 months, they'll be ready, move in ready, hopefully.
And another good thing about Mr. Telfair is that he is employing Princeville citizens as he is identifying additional help that is needed with the construction and restoration of those units. So that's also a very good thing for the town of Princeville.
Yeah.
Is he doing any type of flood proofing to those apartments when he restored them? Kind of like, with the certain type paint and different things that like the town hall has done.
Not that I don't think so. He didn't mention anything about it.
No, I didn't. I did not inquire, but I think that's very important to inquire, and it would be very ideal, very identical to what the contractors did here in this building and also Princeville Elementary School. So I'll make sure that I follow up with Mr. Telfair to see would he consider making sure that everything is flood proof, the material that's being used.
Thank
To see what he considered that.
Other questions on Pioneer Court?
You mentioned
Okay.
about additional funds. Do we know whether any funds is available through the ARPA or the any other grant that is available?
So when we talked about it, we talked about a few resources. One resource is connecting him with the NEED program, now formerly NEED, now new, with their HUD program to complete the application process because they're always looking for owners of housing and apartment units that they pay for the market rate for citizens. And we also talked about linking him to the veteran agency to have veterans to also occupy residence at the Pioneer Court. He mentioned submitting a letter of support to Lowe's and any other organization that can donate cabinet tops, cabinets, sheetrock, and we wrote down several other items that we can actually send out a letter if there's a donation. And then last but definitely not least, having a conversation with the federal and state agencies to see if there's any additional flood funds that can, that, thank you, Mayor, that can actually assist with the restoration of these units and actually move it along a little bit faster, considering that citizens are ready to move back in. And as you, in your project, we'll get to this, a needs assessment, the data totally supports the need for fair housing and affordable housing in the town of Princeville and Edgecombe County at large. But, those are the things that we want to include in the letter of support. So hopefully, Mr. Telfair can get some donations and move these projects along a little bit quicker with restoration.
One other thing, under that federal and state additional fund, you remember we was in collaboration with them once they clean out the houses and remove the debris. Is there any way that you can also have a conversation with them as far as maybe waiving the waste that he may have to take to the landfill?
And so that was the Methodist and the the Methodist when we were over at the other location that went out to different homes and did some restoration, and the town did the waiver on taking their items out to the landfill. So I don't know whether the town is in a position to take on that expense, but we will look into funding opportunities that may have that as an eligibility line item to be covered.
That'll be great.
Dr. Knight, it's probably different. I was thinking in terms of those, as he renovate those apartments, I guess the citizens that were previously living there, they'll still be waiting on Pioneer Court relocation to offer them, to give them first choice, or will any of the ones that were living there be given first choice to move back into where it won't be Pioneer Court, I'm thinking, but to Mr. Telfair's apartment?
So Mr. Telfair, now that he's a private owner, it's at his discretion whether or not he will have subsidized apartments available. And so that was one of the reasons why, I wanted to link him to NEED so that we could still have that affordable housing option in this community. And so he has not stated how that would look once he restores the units, but we did offer that recommendation today. And as far as the citizens who used to live there, it's by vouchers. The vouchers follow the citizens, and the vouchers will be going to the 88 acres. And so it'll go back through the same process that you'll have those 54 vouchers available for subsidized housing in the 88 acres. So whoever so desire to come and complete an application, they go back through that eligibility process as they would any other facility or organization. You know, they have to complete the application and be screened for eligibility.
It's a great question because Representative Smith still there?
She
Yes.
is.
Ask her to tell y'all about what she was talking about online last night about the 70 residents were forced to leave one apartment complex because of the increase in the rental.
Talking about Pitt County.
Yeah.
Oh, she said that you just told us, Mayor.
Is it nothing to add, huh?
Okay.
So that's the good thing, Commissioner Joyner, is that the vouchers will remain in the community. In fact, we're meeting with Winston-Salem Housing Authority this week. They have identified some additional housing funding that they want the town to partner and provide, again, another letter of support to bridge the gap with the remaining funds that's needed to ensure that those 54 vouchers go through that phase process on the 88 acres. So that's a bonus that the units will remain in this community.
Other questions? Okay, Prince Court.
Prince Court. So I did get some communication today from the owners of Prince Court. Again, they're very concerned about where the Army Corps of Engineers are with the levee, but they did say that after hurricane season, they would come over and start the redevelopment in November or December, and they're hoping to complete the restoration of those units by 2023. And so when Colonel Bennett comes in August, I did send them an invite so that they can jump on the conference call. And if they had any clarifying questions, to submit them to this office so that we can make sure that those questions get answered. But they have been sustaining the maintenance of the yard and the grounds over at Prince Court. And so my hope is that they will hold true to their timeline and start the redevelopment in November, no later than December.
To be complete by the end of 2023?
To be complete by 2023. He didn't say at what phase, but I guess that would be determined after they go in and reassess from since they took the ownership.
Okay. Other questions?
I would just like to make comment. Good news to me on that Prince Court. That was one of my questions for tonight. You must have been reading my mind. Thank you.
Boy, too much junk in there.
So, Dr. Knight, would those Prince Court apartments be, would that be the same subsidized?
Yeah, it'll be at their discretion. They haven't made that determination. I did inquire, and they said according to the owner, because this is like a real estate broker that's facilitating between the timeline and with the owner who's out of state. And they said they haven't made that determination yet, but from their last discussion, it will be market price for those units. And it will, not be a senior center units once they go in and do restoration.
Is there anything that, even with private owners, is there anything that can control based on the economic status of a community or municipality? Is there a cap on how much they can charge rent for an apartment or a house or whatever?
And to my understanding, it's contingent upon what type of funds that they will secure, at what percentage will be required to have subsidized dwellings available. I don't know anything beyond that, but if they're private, it's totally at their discretion whether or not they want to be market price or whether or not they want it to be subsidized, who they partner with. And so, that's why we wanted to link them to need, because that's what they offer, affordable housing, and they do have the funds that are obligated for that particular purpose.
Okay.
Well, it's going to be market price. It's just not, our citizens may not be required to pay that market price if they get some subsidies. But what they're going to get is what the market price is.
So,
Other questions? Go ahead.
Are you finished, Miss Knight, with that? I just have a few questions that I think I missed this. On the ARP funds, they talk about the town purchasing some smart meters. My
That's coming
position,
up next. That's coming up next in the old business.
it is. Let me see.
ARPA notes.
Okay, cool. Thank you. All right.
Mm-hmm. Anything else?
Yes. Based also on the DEHC, my understanding, I spoke with a citizen, and they stated that when they applied for the funding to have some work done to their house, that they had to sign over ownership of their resident or per se house for so many years, or then they would have to pay back the funds. Are you familiar with that, Mayor or Ms. Knight?
I'm not.
How that works?
so with the Down East Consortium house repair, it's a forgiveness loan,
Right.
and if the person is eligible and receive the funds to have their house repaired, and I'm just now speaking off not having my notes here before
Well,
because
you're
it's
doing
not on our
good.
agenda, but they have 10 years,
10 years.
and if
Okay.
they live that 10 years, then they will be forgiven of that particular loan. And so what's happening now, because just trying to go back in and make sure that the the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted in this process, is that if there's heirs on the property, then the heirs have to sign the commitment that if the person who is the owner of the house expires before that 10 years, then they'll be willing to take on the commitment of the remaining funds for that particular housing.
Until the 10 years expire.
If the person who owns the house expire before
It's,
that 10 years, before they reach that 10 years.
okay. That's what they were trying to share with me, but I told them let me do a follow up because I wasn't quite sure. But the other piece is, so what if they decide to move within that 10-year? They just have to go ahead and pay back the total remaining amount, just what's left,
Yeah,
the
because
gap.
they would breach the agreement at that time, and I don't have all the paperwork, but I'll make sure that I go back and pull the agreement and submit it to you all again. But they would breach the contract, and so now the city of Rocky Mount is taking a different approach. Also, Edgecombe County, and making sure that they clarify this with anyone who applies to this forgiveness loan. It's not a grant; it's a forgiveness loan. And so they now, more clearly and specifically go over the details of that agreement so that everyone would be aligned just in case the owner does not reach that 10-year time frame.
Thank you. That clarified that for me. And the last piece, did we get any update? Have the gentleman that moved from Florida, I believe, have he come back yet with his family and looking at any cleanup on that area over there by the dollar store? Have you heard from him?
No, Mr. Hamilton has not returned as far as I'm aware. I did have some communication with him on last month, and he was anticipating to return this month. I'll reach out to him again to check on the status.
And the only other thing left now, we just waiting for the attorney to come on board so we can do the paperwork for the mobile home down there past the fire department, right?
So I've already submitted to, we've already sent out a certified letter, and the deadline expired on July 3rd that the mobile home was supposed to be removed. However, the certified letter returned, so we went to the address in Southern Terrace on King Avenue and tried to hand deliver it. No one came to the door, so then we went and put it on the door of the unit on Mutual Boulevard. It was removed, and so we can only make an assessment that someone has communicated this violation to the owner, but we did not get the signature that's required back on the certified mailing, so we would have to seek legal counsel to move further with that removal.
And almost to the end. And Ms. Perkins, I believe that the mayor and the attorney did, the town manager did answer one of your questions based on Corps engineer, that they had a meeting with us on August the 15th. And as for the audit, can you share the audit that I think we got a deadline that we're getting ready to meet on the audits, Ms. Knight?
And so I do want us to be careful because these items are not on the agenda. So Mayor, Board, do you want me to move forward with these items, or how do you want me to address them?
I would just say, I'm sorry.
What's the pleasure of the board?
No, I was just speaking, not necessarily give out a lot of information, but I was just further saying,
It has nothing to do with public information. It's not on the agenda. That's what I was referring to, Mayor, when you asked for the adjustment of the agenda.
Right.
So I just wanted to make
Right.
sure that we're moving in accordance with the line items on the agenda.
well, also, I would like to say that I think Mr. Atkins had a question for the attorney. I think we can just say we are seeking an attorney and that we will look at hiring one at some point in time. I think that the citizens have a right to at least know where we at, not necessarily give them a whole lot of information. That's all I have, Mayor. Thank you so very much. And Madam Town Manager, I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Okay. Next item on the agenda, we have old business, update on the senior center rental agreement.
And so we submitted, the clerk did submit to the Board of Commissioners and the mayor with the revisions of the rental agreement. Thank you again, Mayor, for sending a recommendation. And we did make that adjustment and have updated the rental agreement that's in your packet. And so if there's no further objections, we'll continue to utilize this agreement.
Any concerns from the board? Okay. ARPA notes.
I submitted to you the ARP notes from your last session for your refresher and reminder as you move forward and trying to obligate those funds before 2024 and expense them before 2026.
Questions, comments, concerns?
Yes, I do, Mayor.
Okay.
Based on that, I see one of the recommendations was smart meters. And my question is, who would be responsible for this since the county is in charge of the water system and reading the water meters? Should we pay the cost and utilize the funds for?
No.
Thank you. That is exactly what I want to hear. I don't think we should either. But I saw that as a recommendation on our printout.
Yeah.
And I definitely feel like that they should absorb that cost.
Yeah.
Now, since we on that same note, Ms. Perkins mentioned about the ditches. Commissioner Jones, he mentioned about cleaning of the ditches and stuff. Now, is this also can be some of the money that are we going to utilize to start cleaning these ditches? And also, Miss Dorstein, she also mentioned it. So we want to be mindful if we are responsible for the property of cleaning the ditches, that we could get some contractors to come in here. I think Mr. Porter got a quote 2 quotes a while back, right, Madam Town Manager?
3 quotes.
3 quotes. So can we look at moving forward on that and seeing the potential area that needed the most? What's your suggestion, Mayor?
Well, remember now, we
Recommendation?
said we were gonna, one of the things we were gonna do is wait for the attorney to draw up a contract. That's first thing. But then Commissioner Joyner said that if the costs were exorbitant, so that money's not gonna go too far cleaning ditches. Third thing is, it's private property. Are we gonna go into the cleaning of private property, and what's gonna happen in the future? Who's gonna be held responsible when we don't have any ARP funds to keep those ditches up? So those are all the things we have to consider.
Well, I think somewhere down the road, if it be feasible, that we never know what type of funds that is going to be. Pretty much, there are 4 different townships to continue beautification, and I think, and I know you said, give the fire department so much money, but I think we need to stretch it out. And we need to do some of these ditches in this area. The past administrations, these guys have did this in the past. The storm drains is a part of the township. They is completely overtaken by leaves and debris at this time. We need even somebody to start looking at that. You walk and if you would take the time to just look, Mayor, at them storm drains and see what's in them, there's no way in the world.
I agree with you. I agree with that. That's our responsibility. That's town property. We supposed to be cleaning those. But do we clean private property? That's the question. Those ditches are on private property. I mentioned the 5 that were on private property last month. How much does it cost to clean those 5 ditches? Dr. Knight, you have that before you?
No, we had it in your packets of several months back, and I can put it in your packets again for August. But it's very expensive, and these funds will not cover that particular project. So I will put those quotes back in your packets again.
Okay.
Well,
and that's what we're trying to say now. We're going to clean 5 ditches. That's not going to benefit all of Princeville. It's going to assist 5 streets throughout all the town of Princeville. And that's going to exhaust all of the funds. Do we want to do that, or want to do something to benefit all of Princeville?
If we have a plan. If we don't have a plan to utilize that money somewhere else, then we need to jump on board and utilize that money in that area. That's my take on it.
Comment.
Yes, sir.
Speaking about them ditches, those ditches are the responsibility of the town.
No, sir. They're on private property.
Hold it, Mayor. They are within the jurisdiction of Princeville, whether they are on whose property. Those ditches are going to be contributing to the flooding of the next adjacent property until it finds a resting place. When you start this ditching project, you want to make sure that you have foolproof the whole entire community. You ain't going to be able to do it if you're going to just do 2 or 3 ditches. It's going to be a holding pond right there. So it is our responsibility to make sure that that water leaves that area and finds its way back into that river.
The town owns some ditches. NCDOT owns some ditches, and the private property owners own some ditches. It's up to all 3 entities to keep those ditches flowing.
But let's get them together.
We contacted NCDOT already, waiting on them to come out here and clean their ditches. The town has started cleaning their ditches, but it need to get better on that because we got our director out now, but we need somebody to go ahead and get those ditches cleaned that belongs to the town.
So we need to communicate.
Say it again.
We need to communicate with the 3 entities that's responsible for the ditches.
And we certainly have.
But then the same token, Mayor, with DOT, we asked them over a year ago, and they told us that they were tied up over there in Speed area and Hargood area. I remember that very well. And they
Yep.
said that they would be working their way over here. And it's another whole year, and they still haven't worked themselves over
You're
here.
exactly right. That's why I reached out to Commissioner Harris, who's responsible for our area, to get in contact with DOT. She contacted Senator Representative Willingham, so he's on the case as well. So if they go through that process, hopefully we can go ahead and get DOT over here.
Well, thank you for the update information. So this been a month ago, 2 months ago, because
A couple of weeks.
we don't know, so we're gonna bring up concerns if we don't know. I mean, you got forehand information. Let's be
Well,
transparent.
that was after the board meeting,
Okay, I may not
last
been
board
here.
meeting, and now I'm here telling you what
Thank you.
I've done. Okay?
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Welcome. Yep.
I got an idea, Mayor.
Yes, sir.
And it will relieve your burden. Each ward has a commissioner. Each commissioner should know about every threat of a ditch that needs to be addressed and taken care of. We together in one big voice can meet with those other two entities, speaking of North Carolina Department of Labor, whoever's going to do it, and apply the pressure of the necessary urgency. This isn't about Ward 1 doing something, Ward 2 ain't, and Ward 3 and 4. Everybody, we need to do a network completely for all 4 wards and come together in one big voice representing Princeville's residents. Submit this to North Carolina and whoever else is participating in digging ditches. And that's how we are going to solve this problem. We can't do it individually. We got to come together, and whoever's going to be with the fuzzy balls, we need to bring them into it and let them know if you got the funds and the authority, this is what Princeville wants for its citizens, all 4 wards. I'm sure that when they go out to the 53 and the 88, they ain't going to be digging no ditches. Somebody's going to get that contract, and whoever does that is going to be financed by somebody else besides Princeville, and we can ask them, come on in here and do it like it should have been done years ago.
I agree.
Okay. Questions, comments, concerns?
I got another. So, Mayor, when do you're supposed to be hearing something in the back from these guys? You mentioned Mr. Willingham and Senator Willingham.
I'm not sure. I just talked to Commissioner Harris last week. She said she'll go back out again and find out something. So I will contact her again next week.
Please let us know, and so we can see what else we can do to really try to push this and see how maybe that we can get some federal state help or Upper Coastal Plain. They can tell us something new and just do our homework. Thank you.
Well, I talked to a representative on the DOT's board, and he told me the proper procedure to follow. So that's what I did.
Excellent.
So if that's the proper procedure, we should be able to get something done.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else? Okay, Encore grant amendment.
So before you, Mayor and Board of Commissioners, you have an amendment to the $500,000 grant by which the board did approve for the paving process, the 3rd phase of the paving process to be obligated through these funds. And so our agreement read for salaries. However, a clause within the agreement, as quoted here, stated that a recommendation after 9 months can be provided to Encore to reprogram or redirect unobligated award funds. And so that's why this addendum is before you for signature, so that it can be passed on to Encore for consideration, and that we can move SEPI forward with the paving project that they came before you several months back with 3 different proposals for paving the streets in phase 3.
Okay. Questions from the board? After we sign this, how long before they can get started, Dr. Knight? Any idea?
I don't. As soon as you sign this, I will send it on to the representatives of Encore, and we would just stay on top of it, following up until we actually get an answer from them. They did say, as we talked about with the ARP, obligating the funds to salaries and then using the funds, have more flexibility with using the funds, but that would be a very long, extended period of time. And so we just went with this clause to try this option to move quicker in the process.
Okay. Questions? Okay. Alcohol resolution.
So you had an alcohol resolution before you on last month, and in working with Director Spruill, we had to make some revisions so that it can speak specifically to the General Statute 18B-600H. And so I did do the revisions necessary to this document so that we can get signature and we can move forward and meet the timeline by which it has to be submitted within 45 days before the next election. The next election is on November 8th, and this will be on the ballot for citizens of Princeville for consideration. So it's, a resolution to align with that general statute.
And this has to be read.
Yes.
Okay. Whereas the town of Princeville is passing a resolution in alignment with General Statute 18B-600 that places eligible to hold alcoholic beverage election and 18B-602H that notes railroad passenger terminus location election, notwithstanding any other provision of this section, any city or town that is the passenger terminus of a rail line that carries at least 60,000 passengers annually may hold an election authorized by subdivision A1 and A2 of this section. Any election held under this subsection shall be for the on-premises sale of malt beverages and the on-premises sale of unfortified wine pursuant to GS 18B 602 A2 and GS 18B 602 D2, 1937, C49, SS 25, 26, C 431, 1947, C 1084, SS 124, 1951, C 99, 999, SS 1, 2, 1957, C 18, 816, 1963, C 6, 265, SS 1-3, 1965, C 506, 1969, C 647, S 1, 1971, C 872, S 1, 1973, CC 32, 33, 1977, C149, S1, C182, S2, 1977, second section, C1198, S15, 1979, C140, SS2, 3, C609, S1, C683, S13, 1979, second section, C1174, 1981, C412, S2, C747, S49, 1983, C113, S1, 1983, C457, S2, 1985, Reg Session 1898, 1986, C919, S1, 1987, C766, 1989, C77, C400, S6, 1991, regular session 1992, C976, S1, 1993, C193, S1, 1995, C148, S1, 2001-515, S4, 2003-218, S1, 2004, 203, S24, 2005-336, S1, 2007-386, S1, whereas prior to calling a special election, the governing body of the county, municipality, or special district shall adopt a resolution specifying the details of the election and forthwith deliver the resolution to the local board of election. And whereas the resolution shall call on the local board of elections to conduct the election described in the resolution and shall state the date on which the special election is to be conducted. And whereas the special election may be held only at the same time as any other state or county general election, at the same time as the primary election in any event numbered year, in any even numbered year, the same time as any other election requiring all the precincts in the county to be open, and the same time as a municipal general election if the special election is within the jurisdiction of the municipality only, and whereas legal notice of the special election shall be published no less than 45 days prior to the special election, November the 8th, 2022. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Commissioners approve the resolution. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Then properly moved and second that we pass the resolution. Are there questions? All in favor, use the voting sign aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Thank you so much. Next item, piano quotes. Mayor Pro Tem.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor. So about a year ago, we discussed getting a piano for the senior center. I was able to secure quotes, and the very first quote is $41.99 without taxes, as well as without the delivery fee, which is $300. The second quote, and the first quote was from Guitar Center in Raleigh. The second quote is from Redfish Music in Rocky Mount, and that quote is $39.49, which includes the taxes, but it does not include the delivery fee. The last quote was from McFadden
I'm
Music.
sorry, Mayor Pro Tem, how much is the deliver on that one? $300 as well?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And the third quote is from McFadden Music in Greenville. The total will be $3,753.32. The owner is willing to give a 5.19% discount, which is already included, as well as deliver and set up the piano for free.
What's the pleasure of the board?
Let me say something first, Mayor. Commissioner Jones, I sent you an email. We may want to table this. I sent you an email where someone want to donate a piano. Check your email later on, and maybe you can contact them and pretty much check on this.
You mean a regular piano?
To my knowledge, I'm not fully aware of what type of correction. I'm not fully aware of what type of piano it is, but I think it would be something that we can check out before we make a decision because we don't know. And then if not, then we can move forward.
I say we move forward tonight. This is a state of the art piano, and it's not the regular. It has several features that will be beneficial to the seniors as well, and plus they will maintain this piano even in tuning. We won't pay a thing.
Well, I'm just looking at the fact if we can see what someone is offering us first, they only stated, I mean, who knows, it may be state of the art. If somebody, they said that, and you read your email, you'll see exactly what they said. So why not just table until next month and we can come back and make a decision? It's nothing that we got to, as Mr. Bridges said, nothing that you have to make an urgent decision about.
Well, one thing we have to point out as well, as I was calling around These things are non-available. I don't care what you get. It's a 6 months or more back order. The owner, McFadden, he was nice enough to put it on hold
Yeah.
to tonight. So I don't see why we should wait. I think we should proceed on and get it done. It's been a year.
Well,
Am all these the same?
They're
Each
the
company,
same.
they're the very same
They're
piano.
the same piano.
Okay.
Don't forget we still waiting on the elevators.
well, I think we should just hold out, you know,
And then
do your due diligence first. If someone is giving you a BMW and they don't tell you fully what that BMW consists of, it may be a brand new BMW. So a wise man will seek out before he step out. Now you're a man of God, and you know God said first seek, go at the door and knock. So all I'm saying, and you can look at it any way you choose to, and if the other board want to consider, that's fine. But my position is seek out first. I know it's been a while. We have waited for quite some other things for a while, but another 3 weeks down the road, it ain't gonna break us.
but there's no guarantee that this piano is going to be there.
I make a motion that we go with McFadden Music. His the most reasonable. He's giving the discount, and you also have to keep in mind that if they're willing to service it,
Right. And there's a warranty
that's a good
as well.
thing. It's a warranty on it as well.
Brand new. So
Commissioner Bullock, you have anything to say?
No, sir.
Okay, what's the pleasure of the board?
I make a motion that we accept the quote of McFadden Music to secure the CLP 745B piano immediately.
I second.
Been probably moved in second that we purchased the McFadden Music from McFadden Music, the CLP 745B
Wait, hold
piano.
on, Mayor. Correction. If
Oh,
she
wait a
made
minute,
the
wait a minute.
motion,
Wait a minute, wait a minute.
if she made the motion, she can't second.
She didn't make the motion. Commissioner Jones made the motion.
She made the motion earlier. She made
No, I'm
the
talking
mo-
right now. Right now. She just made the, he made the motion. She
said
said,
she made the mayor. She said she made the motion that we go ahead and accept the necessary piano. If I'm not correct, did you not make the motion first?
Beforehand, yeah.
Yeah. So if she made the motion first from the first hand, then he turned
Prematurely, I
around.
made a motion.
The motion failed, Mayor. After she made the motion and there was no second, it failed.
So
Did I hear-
Commissioner Jones should have made a second if that was the case, because you asked Commissioner Bullock, do you have anything to do? Then Commissioner Jones went right back to the motion. That's why I said we need an attorney.
no. I asked, what's the pleasure of the board?
And I made
That's
the
when
motion.
I heard Mayor Pro Tem say make the motion and Commissioner Joiner,
Joiner.
Second. Did I miss that?
Yes.
Mayor, I think
Okay.
what transpired-
What happened before you asked for the pleasure of the board? And I was making a remark. I said I make the motion.
There you go.
That and the motion failed after no one seconded.
Okay.
I didn't hear
So
it.
he didn't
Okay.
ask for a second then.
Okay.
Mayor
So
Jones.
He asked him a question. He didn't ask for a second.
Mayor
Okay.
Jones and the board.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Listen. We need to table this just for a minute, because if whoever's going to be purchasing this, we don't have a place to store it right at this moment, and
It
know
doesn't need
that
to be stored.
it don't need to be stored.
No, sir.
How are you going to get it up there?
If the piano can be disassembled, it'll be assembled in the building.
Okay, is it electronic or is it just regular acoustic?
Electronic.
Okay. So it's not that heavy
No,
as
sir.
as a regular. Okay.
No, sir. So you
All
ready
right.
for the motion, Mayor?
I am.
Make a
Go
motion.
ahead with it.
I make a motion that we purchase the piano from McFadden in Greenville.
I second.
Been properly moved and second that we purchased the piano from McFadden Music in Greenville. Are there questions? All in favor, use the voting sign aye.
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 Opposed, nay.
Nay.
Is that 3 ayes, 1 nay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's move forward with the purchase. Next item on the agenda is new business community assessment conducted by new.
Yes, Mayor. So you have before you an assessment that was recently conducted by New, formerly Need, out of Rocky Mount. They contracted out with Precision Research and Evaluation of North Carolina to assist their efforts to conduct a community needs assessment covering the service areas of Nash, Edgecombe, and Wilson counties in North Carolina. And you see the results that participants in the community, board members, and local leaders within the 3 county areas supported the residents of the new related programs. Results revealed that there were saturated findings in refining policies, practices, processes, and programs for the increased economy stabilization, sustained housing, and affordable child care in the community served. Dr. Gorm did a presentation at our last board meeting with the new board, and across all participants and data collected, there was a common denominator, and that was one, access to and sustained employment in supportive workplace environments, affordable, safe, sustainable housing with the expanded development of housing inventory, opportunities for home ownership, including financial assistance, including help to resolve credit problems, and to include education to know what to do, when to do, and how to do it. Third, affordable child care, including more accessibility to subsidies, flexible hours, transportation, and quality care. I have the full 90-page document, but I gave you an abridged version because you are working towards the initiative to that poverty to prosperity. And I thought this data would be perfectly ideal as we continue to pursue grants relating to affordable housing, relating to education, relating to child care, and all of the needs within the community of Princeville.
Excellent information. Did everyone get a chance to read through this?
I did.
If okay, I just want to highlight a couple of things, especially on page 3, because we're right in alignment, as Dr. Knight just said, what we're trying to do. 3 primary critical concerns. Talked about health care, education for job-specific training, career advancements, and mentorship. And again, when we're talking about health care, we're just not talking about the physical aspect. We're talking about the mental piece as well. Affordable, safe, and sustained housing. We're working on that now. Affordable child care. We hear that everywhere I go, especially with the Upper Coastal Plain Council of Government. That is one of the things that they're gearing towards: child care and transportation. They talk about mental health needs as well and education. And then on-the-job training on page 4. And then on 29, financial stability, housing and childcare, education and training, sustainability, long-term sustainability. What we're looking for, not a quick fix. Sometimes we gotta teach people how to fish instead of giving them a fish, because giving them a fish, they're gonna need another one next week. But if you teach them how to fish, they can go out and get their own fish for life. The 88 acres is going to be big for us, because when we develop the 88 acres along with the 53 acres, that increase our tax base, which allows us to do more things for the citizens. Develop jobs. We have a lot of talent right here in Princeville that we have to support them in the development of not only getting a job, but creating jobs. We have a lot of entrepreneurs right here that they can hire other people with support. affordable housing, affordable childcare, transportation, education, childcare, employment challenges. But we have to motivate people to go to work. They have to have a reason to go to work. $7 an hour, $8 an hour is not going to motivate people to go to work because they cannot take care of a family on minimum wage. But if we can get them into $25 an hour, $30 an hour, they'll be able to support their family, sustain their housing, and also take a vacation, annual vacation, get away from it all, which helps on your mental health. And then the last page, page 30, it talks basically about the same thing, but it also talks about perceived hopelessness. A lot of our people are in a state of hopelessness now because of what's going on in the world. But we can show them there's a better way. There is hope. We can live the American dream. We have to show them how because they've never been shocked. A lot of them, not everybody, of course, not everybody, but a lot of our young people don't know where their hope is coming from. They have given up. We have to check them right now and get them on the right track. Other questions, comments, concerns about news?
Yes, I do. When would this be implemented now?
You're on mute if you're trying to talk.
No, I'm not. I can hear myself.
Okay,
I said,
we'll move to
Ms. Knight. When would this be implemented?
This is not an implementation. This
So-
was a survey, community survey.
Just
that
a
was,
survey.
that was carried out by Need Incorporated, now new, for Edgecombe, Nash, and Wilson County.
Oh, that's all. No. Survey.
Other questions?
Survey.
Okay, board comments?
Mayor, I did have a couple of people that were working on the from poverty to prosperity, and they are interested in knowing when are we going to reconvene and when are we going to get some. How would we determine or help them to understand when they will be involved?
Okay, let me take a look at the calendar and I'll get back with you. Anybody else that want to participate?
Okay.
Other board comments? I did send out an email. Go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, sir.
That's okay. I did send out an email for board member training, which is required. That portion on ethics is required. And if I'm not mistaken, is virtual. Is that right, Dr. Knight?
That's correct.
Okay, so if you're interested, make sure you go ahead and let Dr. Knight know so she can sign us up and try to get some scholarship money so we can go ahead and be ready.
You can go ahead and sign me up for whatever date that's gonna be. Ms. Knight, you can sign me up.
Will do.
Any other board comments?
Yes, sir, Mayor. I think we're moving in a good direction, at a steady pace, and so far I'm satisfied with what we've accomplished as I look back over this year. And I say we stay focused and keep the pace.
Thank you so much. I agree with you 100%. Anybody else?
I concur.
Thank you, sir.
Same here.
Thank you, sir.
Just to a point that I think that we need to also look at some other areas that was brought up tonight, and one was about the ditches for the community, and make sure that we're doing something greater that the community can see as well, because it have been a strong concern for quite some time. So I think once we also move in that direction, because there's greater room for improvement and concern that the citizens have spoke, we work and try to do our best and want to make sure that we serve the town as needed. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else?
One last thing, Mayor, I do want to say, for the past 2 months, I've been spending at least 2 days here at the town hall from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And to see the office staff do what they do, it's amazing. I don't know how they do it. I don't know how they do it. They work together as a team, and from what I've seen, they're very effective in getting the job done. Of course, I jump in wherever I fit in, if needed. And the 2 months or the 2 days that I spend here at the town hall, I get phone calls, text messages, or citizens come through, and we have opportunities to engage them as well.
Excellent. I think that is tremendous, especially having an open door policy for the citizens to come in, talk to you. Uh, but let's be very careful about how you jump in, because y'all correct me if I'm wrong. Old board members, when we went to the ethics training, they highly discouraged that by us being involved in the day-to-day operations.
So, Mayor, when Mayor Pro Tem mentioned jumping in, what that looks like when he's here is answering the phone. Because Miss Jessica the clerk has had to cover and support the senior center, and so when she's not at her desk, he answers the phone, and so not involved in the task of the operational day to day, but just those elements of technical support is what he's saying, and admin support and answering the phone. If someone comes and he covers the front desk and take messages, and so it's more of that administrative type of support.
Okay.
And
Sounds
also,
good to me.
and also, Mayor,
Good to us as well.
also, Mayor, I'm gonna be joining in soon. I'm
Okay.
gonna take another retirement.
Must be nice. Must be nice. Okay.
Likewise.
Motion to go into, go ahead. Motion to go into executive session, NCGS 143-318.11A16, to prevent the disclosure of information that is privileged or confidential pursuant to the law of this state or of the United States, or not considered a public record within the meaning of Chapter 132 of the General Statutes. NCGS 143-318.11A4, to discuss relating to the location or expansion of industries, agreement on a tentative list of economic development incentives that may be offered by the public body in negotiation, or to discuss matters relating to military installation closure or realignment. One, personnel. Is there a motion?
So move.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second that we go into executive session. Are there questions? All in favor, use the voting sign aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. And what she does is just cut this one down, but don't turn it off, because we'll come back to this same section. But I'm gonna have to go over to the executive session.
Okay. Thank you.
See you in a minute.
All right.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Have a great evening, Representative Smith.
This conference is no longer being recorded.
Okay. Absolutely.
As long as you got a quorum, somebody can be dismissed, can't?
No.